of matter, and my voice hoarse because I just sneezed. So we are in basically a Jupiter night, a Sol day, with Jupiter very much still in the thrones of the Sun here in 28 degrees Taurus, with the Sun on the anaretic degree, just about to enter the Sedna Pluto gate. So we have a midheaven in 19 degrees Libra, just leaving a conjunction with the moon is the ruler of the hour in Libra, that just left a conjunction with Ketu, all ruled by Venus, and Venus is already on Algol, where she will be tomorrow, where the most important jury day and jury case of the 21st and the 20th century takes place in London, Royal Court, 8:30 in the morning London time. You definitely want to be there for that moment. And that would be this sentence on the possibility of extradition of Julian Assange. If you don't understand why it's the most important sentence, write in the comments. Why do you think? Because as we are looking at the parties, which is the United States, and we can think about the United States still undergoing Pluto return, where Pluto is retrograde 2 degrees Aquarius, but is definitely making its path towards the Pluto return, the Capricorn Pluto return of the US, towards its final touch, might not be perfecting, but towards its final touch before it gets out of Capricorn on November 19. And when I say get out of the lodges before November 19, this is the time in history where people are going to look for fingers of blame, and whoever is connected with the cults that run the governments, the leaders, and so on, is very much at stake here. And so we've seen that in the French Revolution, where things got really out of hand. And so because most of the levels of the ranks of secret societies are not practicing, satanic ritual abuse, ritual rape, and so on, unless you are in the fraternities in the Ivy League and in American and other Western academic institutions, the ones that they tell you that you must study in if you want a research career, then most lodges would not necessarily have these practices, or maybe it's got different in recent times, but if that's not you, it's better to denounce and get out for whenever you are able to. Definitely not to sign with blood. And so I want to talk about the Pluto aspect of what we'll see tomorrow, because United States is still in the thrones of its Pluto. And I talked about Shinzo Abe in a different video that has been very shadow banned on YouTube. There was very good performance for this video when I went live, and then I couldn't see it in my videos. It's like I could see it, but if I turn on the channel, I couldn't see it. It won't help. Okay, it was assassinated because he disobeyed the WHO and WEF dictatorship, as many have. And we've seen another attempt of assassination of Roberto Fico, the Prime Minister of Slovakia. Today we've seen something very weird going with Iran that is also to the northeast of the state of Israel. And we know that both United States and Israel have Sun in the 8th house, which means that the leadership is run by proxy. And so what you called Israel is called a proxy server called United States, a proxy server called Israel, for something that is externally founded. Okay, so people say Rothschild owns or funds Israel. Is this the only explanation? Okay, what about global organizations and so on? So we really need to understand that the nation state is not a valid unit of analysis for the distribution of wealth or the distribution of power, which is politics. Now, another interesting thing, as I was looking again, I don't want to probe too much into Assange's chart, but I just want to say, yes, he has Pluto on the 27th, I think. It's very close to the 27th. It has Pluto on Alkaid, which is a fixed star in the Great Bear, the Ursa Major. That is to do with very literally, the destroyer of nations. It was both used to manifest the Mossad, so there was an attempt to sacrifice whether it's the state of Israel or both Israelis and Palestinians, and have ritual rape and ritual torture, all kind of really weird stuff, in hope that it would please the big bear. It doesn't. It does the opposite. And very much associated, Alkaid is very much associated with the number 7, which we see in 7th of October, Zang, which is the 7th letter, but it's also penis. There was a use of basically the penis to sexually harass a nation. And that, again, is misuse of the penis. Okay? Like, don't enrage Mars when Rahu is in Mars rule sign. That should be basic. It's a symbol of fertility and is worshipped as symbol of fertility just as much as the vagina is. But again, those the people who plan these things, they are interfering with the life energy, and they try all kinds of things to invert and to take from the creative energy, that basically it flips over them again and again. And now one of the worst things that you can do when it comes to Alkaid, there's actually a Japanese teaching that you do not shoot towards the northeast. It's unlucky to shoot towards the northeast. This is why they made the proxy Israel to try to shoot, or to at least be blamed for trying to shoot towards Iran. And also Iraq in 91, okay, this was with Iraq. It's northeast to Israel, it's not benefic, and so to try to do this is an attempt to sacrifice the state of Israel from external, so whether it's coming from like the founders of Israel that want to play with the wealth in a certain way on the account of the people, or coming from another place, is not benefic to shoot towards the north east. And the entire attempt since the oil crisis of 73, because Iran helped Israel during the oil embargo, there was like an avenging of Israel, and in 79 we see the complete outturning of the regime by declaration of independence on April Fool Day, a lot of occult symbolism, something that looks very unnatural. And it's not even impossible that one of the leaders was not obeying with who and with, and was taken down. It's easy to say Israel, but this was one case that we've seen, and again, tomorrow is the sentence for Julian Assange. So of course they will do diversion, and I said they will start a world war just for you to not look at this case. This is why I invite you, if you live anywhere near London, tomorrow 8:30, be there, protect yourself. You can invoke the second. Okay, if United States cancels the first outside US land, it's okay to invoke the second. By any means necessary, you can protect yourself. You're not coming to make noise, not coming to make disturbances, but just to keep the First Amendment enforced with the people, as we're supposed to do with the Constitution of the United States, inspired by thinkers as John Locke. And that is completely what we are facing. This is also the US Pluto return orb still. Okay, and when I say Julian Assange has Pluto on that point, on that Alkaid point, okay, and again, I'm not going to probe into the chart right now, out of respect, okay, So I think sensitive moment, and I think it's no point to do that now. And so this Pluto point is the power point where if you direct at this point, okay, this is very unlucky. So basically what US is doing to Assange is incredibly unlucky for the US. If US does not free Assange, is very unlucky. They're shooting at the Northeast to be very literate. Okay, this is why I brought the example of Iran. Okay, and how Iran was founded to make Israel shoot at the Northeast, so it's unlucky, so to sacrifice Israel. It doesn't really work because if Israel is not revering of what it should be for like a goal and so on, then that would be their problem. But it doesn't really work otherwise. Because Alkaid is about the sheer joy of doing the right thing. And when you take or you tend or you put aggression on a person that have a strong point on Alkaid, and that person is ethical, okay? And in as much as it comes to expose war crimes, to do journalism, that's ethical. There's nothing here that was not exposing and telling the truth. Yes, I'm not talking about Sweden, I'm not talking about what I don't know, I'm talking about what we do know. And there's no ground, no juristic ground, no political ground. And it's a cancellation of the First Amendment, which calls to invoke the second. This is the utmost John Locke premise, okay, that the social contract was violated when you cancel the First Amendment. It's first, for the freedom of speech is the First Amendment for a reason. And so basically any aggression towards Assange that has a Pluto point on Alkaid is the equivalent of shooting to the Northeast. Just like for Israel, any violation of sexual boundary violation of a citizen inside and or outside is like triggering Algol, which is, then if you think about Alkaid, is the democide planet, is the genocide planet. Okay, if you think about Algol, it's bodies upon bodies. But if you think about Alkaid, is very much the genocide planet. It is the destroyer of nations. But it's also to do with mourning and grieving and honoring, giving reverence to Alkaid. So very, very important planet. And it's a planet that both the person that has a placement on this wants to work very closely with Alkaid. But when you think about the situation here, where the person has Pluto point and Assange is above Pluto, is above the age of Pluto square, okay? So this would actually be his Pluto trine. Yes, the end of Virgo and the end of Capricorn would actually be his Pluto trine. And so I don't know what will US decide, but I literally, one of the things that I was thinking about, when they said for how many years they want to sentence him, like 175 years, which is, I think, half a Pluto cycle. And I said, well, maybe with what US is going through right now, it's not impossible that Assange would outlive US if they do such thing. And as astrologer, I must say, if they take the road of extradition, then it's very likely Assange will outlive US. And I'm not joking. I'm not joking here. This is his Pluto trine. It's not his Pluto square. For me, it's Pluto square. Yes, it's a hard aspect. I'm 40. For him, is actually after Chiron return. So great healing, tremendous healing. And so I cannot say I promise like the best and so on, because I don't know. And you understand that there is also attempts to undermine US itself from outside US. Okay, the leaders are externally owned. Yes, darlings. And so there's attempt to sacrifice US in as much as there's attempt to sacrifice Israel by the very infiltrators. So it's not like, oh, they did war crimes and then we're going to down with them. No, it's by the same infiltrators that perpetuate this. And this is why Al-Qaeda is not stupid, it's the big bear. Yes? And like a very good Twitter post said, the problem with Declaration of Independence is not that it needs to be rewritten, it needs to be reread. This is when people read. Again. And this case, more than anything, calls, because this case came before certain stages in death and concentration camps for the homeless, for which journalists were very likely assassinated. So if we don't know where they are and they were jailed, then yes, and they cannot broadcast, it's violation of First Amendment, that this calls already for invoking the second. But this case for Assange could have avoided this long ago. And the attempt to create a everlasting war, okay, kind of Mein Kampf, okay, they banned Mein Kampf, but they practice it in other names and by proxy states. And so on this day, we understand that this is where, if you're a patriot, if you're American, you're a patriot, already you need to invoke the second on Assange, okay, because Assange cannot be extradited, and the implication for the Charter of the United States, yes, this is very big. It's an attempt to make United States not survive Pluto return. If Assange if they attempt to extradite Assange. So this is something we need to take into consideration. Okay, there's both the intricacy of the external funding and control of states and the nation states not being a suffice unit of analysis, as well as having a chart here that has a Pluto return. So we go back to the Declaration of Independence, both on the homeless, which many of them are Iraqi war veterans, and many whistleblowers, or just people who the daytime job could no longer do, or got fired because they would not go with corruption. So they find themselves in the street, okay? It's not about just refugees or immigrants, it's citizens as well. And of course, everybody's, housing first and open dialogue is the basis for making good decisions. It's the people to have their needs so that they can make good decisions. But here is a very, very important case. And yes, attempt here is not to assassinate Assange in as much as to assassinate the United States. But Americans, patriots, they read independence, the Declaration of Independence. They know that when you cancel the first, you invoke the second. And I've already seen people having the memes around this. And yes, it's, American patriots are calling them to protect Assange because this man is showing you of when your nation state was infiltrated and hacked and misused, like Trojan horse. And this is call for American to protect Assange within the United States and with the people. Okay, it's about we the people globally. Because this Declaration of Independence was also inspiration of declarations of independence in 1948. And those declarations of independence, they still stand in verbatim, okay? As we the people to enforce them. It's never so clear as in the United States Declaration of Independence, but it's still very clear if it's outside US land. This is something that we the people have for us, for those who can. And so if I looked back at the Shinzo Abe son on Alkaid, who was assassinated because he disobeyed the WHO and the WEF, this again, okay, they try to silence this, but we see that literally hardly anyone agrees with the WHO and the WEF, but the people that are affiliated, and even people that are in the cult, like Shinzo Abe, okay, were preferring to go the route of sayonara and cross over than to go with the WHO and the WEF. And for that, it's only we the people. We need to understand that these people are not against us. They are seeing that, they understand that we come back here, we want to make the world livable, because you don't know how you come back and where you come back, and you want to do within your means the best to make this world a place that is good to live in. And people do understand this. So at this time, is this like a prediction? No, it's not a prediction, but it is a prediction upon the implications. And I have been receiving this very strongly with the Jupiter Sun. Both the Sun and Jupiter and then Venus are about to embark into the Sedna Pluto gate. And the Sedna Pluto gate is where Sedna is in Gemini, where I think she is completing a cycle. If we talk about 9 millennia ago, Sedna takes about 1200 years to surround the globe. She doesn't surround the globe, but from the perspective on Earth, okay? Astrology is not Earth-centric, but we understand that from our vantage point, we see things around, and this matters for how they affect us. So this is useful to say. It's for us, for the same point that it was in relation to the Earth, it will take 1200 years for her to go again to this point. If we take 9 millennia ago, we'll go really back to Inuit culture, where she belongs. And what was Inuit culture was practicing that created Sedna as a deity that they have to revere or they won't have food, is infanticide and forced marriage and incest. Okay, back then, 9 millennia ago, every life on Earth, it begins, like if you look at after Chernobyl, so we had rare species going again, and some of them became with sexual polarity. So at first, the breeding is incestual. This is why very few survive, because it's not healthy to do incest. Yes, it's intermarriage, and what it's doing is basically degenerating the genome. Okay, if anybody that raises even pets knows that your street pets are better health than your best breed dog. And if you want, let's say, a Labrador, then they mix it up with a little, maybe golden, maybe something like that, because you don't want it to die after a few weeks. So you have to have biodiversity. And so we know that the implication of incest, of forced marriage, and even of the practices of sexuality, where sexuality was offered like an act of kindness. There was not yet understanding that there's just something different about sex. Okay, it has to do with consent. There's just about the health of the genitals, but it's also about these two chakras. Okay, the root and the second sex chakra, the relational chakra. It's just something, they have a way of being that humanity needed and needs to learn and to practice, so that we are healthy. And when we do, it opens up a lot of wonderful things. But if we didn't have this wisdom as a race 9 millennia ago, okay, 2025, not okay. So Sedna requires respect. And for here is again touching on Gemini. So if in Taurus it was about the willing consent and about women not suppressing women who turn to willing consent and demand respect. In Gemini, we go back to Inuit, we go back to the origin, we go back to the 9 millennia ago. And this was the understanding that I had, where infanticide no longer, child ritual abuse no longer. So if you see this Twitter post of, would you help me dismantle a pedophilia cult of 9 millennia? Yes. In Sedna, yes. It is time. Yes. This is why we are speaking about this more than ever. Bravely, the children will speak. They speak absolutely. And with the trine to Pluto is exposure. Now, how does that relate to the case of Assange? Because when Pluto is around the Pluto return for the United States, it is trining Sedna. So we had the Epstein ring is exposed. And you say, Shirley, but nobody did. And we the people. Who do you want to do something about this? The same people who are in these cults and even trapped in these cults. Some born into such things. Who needs to? We the people. En masse. So this is a different Pluto in Aquarius than the Pluto in Aquarius we had 250 years ago for the foundation of the United States. Because now this Pluto is trining Sedna. And Sedna in Gemini is going from Taurus to Gemini. What is Taurus? It's willing consent. It's just, what is Taurus? It's fertility, it's fair banking, it's off with domestic violence, amongst women and towards women. It is the voice, it is sensuality. And with Uranus, also the type of sensuality that is unusual to the eye, beauty standards that are unusual to the eye. Off with medical welfare towards women, or else off with the empires. Blood sacrifice doesn't help. It makes, in Hebrew we say, vidu hariga. It makes sure that this is extinguishing the whoever practiced this. Why do empires rise and fall every 240, 250 years? Pluto return. If you make blood sacrifice, this ensures you die. What's another way? So if you correct these wrongdoings, then you thrive, then you prosper. For the case of Assange, what he was exposing is beyond the war crimes of the United States. He was more than that. But actually, the plan to destroy humanity that is based by the cults that practice not just satanic abuse, but very much so, okay, satanic abuse. And again, I don't mean the Satan of Saturn, that is to rest and to dedicate yourself to something, or to be disciplined in a way that still honors your needs, okay, because otherwise you are going satanic, by the way. Saturn is not about depriving yourself, it is about being in good relationship with having and enough and resting and dedication. This is Saturn. Anything else is already afflicted by these tonic cults, Also the rituals, okay? The rituals that are not giving place for you to rest, to process. Those rituals are already not life affirming. Saturn is not about being not life affirming. Lucifer, yes, we're not talking about the Lucifer of bringing light, enlightenment, having verdict on something, okay, that type of lightning bolt, okay, that type of, no, we talk about the what they call redemption through sin, yes, is going the flip side of going and basically practicing the same sins of whether it's the church or other religions, but through the antichrist or through the anti-religion, is doing the same atrocities to humanity in the name of resisting religion. Okay, it's nothing. Yes, it's nothing that's benefic to your well-being, and that those are the Luciferian cults. Okay, it's not the Lucifer of like being authentic with your passions and your desires, kind of like the relational chakra, what you want, what you desire, and being true to yourself. Okay, that kind of Luciferian gnosis, it's kind of like, okay, it's the gnosis of what do you want, which is important. But this is not that gnosis. It's basically infiltration on the sex chakra by doing the same things that you accuse the church of doing and calling it redemption through sin. He's as religious. It's just another type of ayatollah, that be said. And so when you talk about infanticide, child bride, forced weddings, domestic violence, okay, victim blaming, all of these things go from Taurus to Gemini. From the Inuit, they are going to be purged. So also the tribes, the indigenous tribes, they say our problem is colonialism, we cannot hunt. Sedna, abolish incest. That causes the highest suicide rate till today in Inuit society, as per Inuit talking to Inuit. How do I know it? Because I give reverence to Sedna. She enters my 4th house, about to go on my Chiron, and so I give reverence to Sedna, and I give reverence to Inuit culture, and I speak up. It's not just to hold the calm or to do with the fingers, it's to abolish those things that important to Sednas, to abolish infanticide, abolish child brides, abolish incest. That will open up a gate to thriving society as it has been, as it never even been 9 millennia ago. And it's from 9 millennia, from the Inuit, abolishing these things. United States stands on the Pluto part of the gate of this exposure. So there's a great point of authenticity here. Both understanding that what we call US did this, US did that is not US. It's by proxy. It's a proxy server run by cults. What about we the people? And this Declaration of Independence, they have a meaning. And by honoring, by understanding that those indigenous tribes, no, we cannot go and say just colonialism, 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 without abolishing those practices from 9 millennia ago that are causing high suicide rates and deprivation of food, not allowed to hunt food. This is Sedna, this is directly Sedna. She's dealing with the food. So it was seafood where you live in the sea, but it is that. So it's calling, Pluto is calling for tremendous authenticity, but in a trine it's more facilitated because it's not by a crisis in as much as the square or the opposition. And it's those very cults and their plan to enslave humanity and cause endless war that Julian Assange exposed with WikiLeaks. They don't plan to win a war, they plan that the war would be continuous. Yes, the state of Israel has never seen such a war. The war of independence of Israel was not that long. Not that long. Never seen such a war. And kidnapped people still there. Yes, so we understand whoever designed for this, their intention was not that you will have a conflict, then people have, as they teach us, the war is the continuation of negotiation by other means, and then you go back to the table, the negotiation table, and maybe two countries, maybe this, maybe that, and that's it. Peace. Enough. But here is showing very clearly that is put there. So much effort was put to, as Assange said, continue the struggle. Artificially, the very people who were slaughtered in that Nova party were the people that would help Palestinians in every way they could. Palestinian people, not Hamas. Palestinian people in every way they could. The very people who are so hard, that are Palestinian and oppose Hamas, some of them, they are complying with 2030, which is tragic for the people that live in there. They don't have a voice because the Free Palestine is cold paid. Okay, it's no reason. Okay, strategy, war strategy. They want to make it endless war because if you want, let's say, the Israelis back in Europe, okay, accommodate. If every Israeli that can have European passport has, and every Israeli that has it at least tried to think to live there today. I know I have. With the families, like every time, when Pluto was going to my midterm, and I asked my parents, please, let's go, but just to travel, not to think where we live, not to try this, just to travel, to enjoy traveling once. Take it slow. 3 weeks we were from Ancona, Italy to Berlin by car, but that was, at least we were traveling, enjoying the place. If the logic was, okay, you live but in this place and not in that place, well, long ago there would be very likely no problem that if that would be accommodated. But to make Intifada global, what does it mean? That you put everybody who is even Israeli citizenship, it's like you don't know where to go. This is strategic to make the war endless and to make more conflict. I'm not talking about anti-Semitism, Palestinians, Arabs, all Semitic. But I'm talking about the strategy to make it endless war. This is what Julian Assange exposed. And it's just one case. Those conflicts that people like, how will we resolve? It's not a problem to resolve. It is a lot of energy invested so that everybody who tries is being dismantled and assassinated. So you think the big problems of the world, it's not big problems. A lot of energy is invested in so that you would think it's a problem even. People just want to live and let live. Long ago, I live in Negev, Bedouin tribes. We have Bedouin tribes, we have indigenous communities. The people escape to the city. Why? They cannot with the Hamula wars. Enough with going on a fight every other day because somebody was fighting with somebody. Now 5,000 people have to fight. Honor. Enough with that. They sick of that. The people, they sick of that. So they study here, they study there, and they go to the city, but to escape. It's not because they don't like the land. They don't want this tribe. Enough. They want to have a cup of coffee without people, the whole neighborhood saying, who are they? They're going this, they're going there. This is true. It's the life of real people here. It's not in They're not assassinated for being Bedouin. They serve in the army. They have not all of them, but they have a place here, a blue ID, everything. Okay, it's not a situation like in the United States, well, although for some, yes, illegal villages and so on, but this is different, so the problem is different. And the problem is still infanticide. The men sometimes don't know it, the women know it, and even the women oppress the women. This is the problem. And then you get men murdered. Every other day, men murdered. Why? At first they don't treat the problem when it's women, then they blame the women. If the woman is violated, they blame the women. And it's not the religion even. It's not the religion. According to religion, if woman, let's say, God forbid, raped, 4 men you can kill of the tribe that raped her. It's to the other side extreme. In Islam, if a woman is marrying, she has her own land. Husband cannot know, he has to give her some money. Husband cannot know how much she has in the bank, cannot touch the bank, cannot touch the land. It's her land, her house, her bank account. This is per Islam. Okay, so a lot of bad things in Islam. We definitely don't like the Muhammad that was waiting for 6-year-old Aisha to turn 9. But this is also Islam. So we cannot blame this behavior on religion. Yes? Have to be humane. And so when we talk about these conflicts, a lot of energy is being put for people to go that direction, not this direction. A lot of energy invested. And this is not even on government level. So when there are people who grew into blood cults that hold the wealth of the world in ways that are irrational and incompatible with the world, actually, when Sedna is reaching again this point of trade, children, civil wars and conflicts as well, media and communication, now respect is required. If they try all these things that they try to do, like to have surveillance, and if you don't have your iris scanned or your biometric, that you cannot buy food, this thing, Sedna, is going to break it down like a tower of cards. And Julian Assange exposed this with WikiLeaks. It's not about the United States. All of that. This is the Sedna gate. So tomorrow, as the sun ingresses to Gemini, into this gate to meet Sedna, to trine Pluto, we will have this sentence for Assange. Jupiter invisible. Jupiter is not giving us the protection of morals. Jupiter is actually asking us to go deeper because he is taking the morals away. We're having a shape-shifting around Jupiter theme. So expansion, and so we think differently about those things. Venus invisible is a Reshkigal. She is giving us this protection, and she stands on a gold that eclipses at the time. So gold eclipses is considered mundanely unlucky day. We also don't work magically with the eclipse of gold. It's like working with eclipse. It's intense energy. Okay. By the way, the blood cults, they try to work with the black sun. They try to work with the full solar eclipse, and this is very chaotic energy. If they want to create chaos, it works against them. And I know this because your humble servant, myself, was put in front of the sun in solar eclipses on purpose. Yes? Time and time and time and time, come on. The solar eclipse, let's that. Oh, let's get to her astral field, let's this, let's that. For my choice, I'm pre-eclipse child. My fate, my fate. What can I say? Okay. Often people try to mess with this. This creates for them big chaos. Big. Well, I get eureka after eureka after eureka after eureka after eureka. So they get chaos. It's what they created, chaos. Wanted to create chaos in my life. What happens? I get eureka. They get chaos. So unless they repent, it's also possible. I don't know if they're eclipse children or I don't know. But this is also important to know. There are a lot of ceremonies. What eventually happened is that we are going towards May 27, when the WHO is supposed to be worldwide it is, and people are willing to lose their head. As leaders willing to lose their head, not to sign this. That snake. UN dismantled. Why the snake? Medicine. You don't F with medicine. Medical warfare. The Saturn in Pisces. You don't F with that. Ruling Pluto. Don't F with that. Because Pluto is bringing what? The karma of 250 years of medical warfare. Why? Within 2 years, suddenly we think it's from not being able to talk about vaccine to actually Pfizer being dismantled. And Israel betraying the WHO, as per the WHO. Israel, the first rat lab of Pfizer. Medical warfare exposed both in Israel, if we know, since 1948. Yes, unfortunately, those dumbfuckeries infiltrated the nations, and Israel was not exempt. But neither was Palestine. Shifa. Were the doctors complying with 2030? Were they raping patients? Were they forced vaccinating? Off with Shiva. Off with Shiva. Off with Shipa. Off with whatever it is. Oh, speaking of Shiba, it's actually wormwood that's associated with Alkaid as well. What does it do? It's good for the hormone system, for good menstruation, nervous system, and to purify. Great cleanser, purify. Very powerful. So as we enter the Sedna Pluto gate, around the Pluto return of the United States, everything that happens on this gate is directly affecting the United States and all who is attached to it. If you have MK Ultra written on the walls of Beersheva, Seife, Sheva, 7, Seife, Zain, MK Ultra, written, MK Ultra South, MK Ultra South, written, big Beersheva, big center. It's a commercial center. You have US written on walls everywhere. We don't know what this is. So everyone where that has been affected. Abolishing SRA. Okay, people would think MK Ultra, okay, maybe conspiracy, maybe this. Then people get psychically attacked. 7th of October, villages, people of villages said, We hear orders from Gaza. I said, aha, you should have listened to the crazy people. You would know how to purify, to cleanse this from your aura. Back to sender, back to sender. Little do you know, maybe the sender sitting in Jerusalem. You never know where this guy is sitting. You never know who, what, where. Yes? But if medicine involved, we know it's not local. So now people looking into SRA. Now what was crazy to talk about, everybody understands. They either have to get it, or they go the route where they think they're crazy, and it's not good. Therapists that try to treat these people saw images that are reminding basically of a goal. They didn't know how to say it, but they saw snakes coming from behind the patient. Snakes coming from behind the patient. Why? Because it was ritual sacrifice. But you don't appease a goal with rape. The other way around is good. The other way around is good. This is important. And there was this and the betrayal, which is already said now. So many amputated limbs for the soldiers against Sedna. Why? What is Sedna honoring? To be free woman, free youth, free children. Okay. Not in the cult. And when they make everything cult, whether it's job, army service, academia, then that, unfortunately, if you do the cult, you do inversion of the practice of astrological magic and these things. So, and Julian Assange exposed exactly those plans of destroying humanity, making endless war, controlling people. Exactly those plans. With documents, with whistleblowers. Everything exposed. Vault 7. Everything exposed. Interrupted the plan to destroy humanity. His story, his parents were in film industry, and then they were escaping a cult. He was born into this, and they moved around a lot. He said very smartly, the people who live in those countries, you know, like Afghanistan, like Iran, Iraq, these people, they don't need WikiLeaks because they see it. We don't see it. You know how many Iranis escaped Iran of 1979? So many people escaped. And so many people escaped radical Islam. This is true. One of the people tending to this is Geert Wilders, that was saying to Europe, hey, you got too many radical Islamists here, and they're not willing to change. Yes, the women, maybe they want to change because they escape violence. The men, a lot of them, no. If they come from a tribe that's radical Islamist, he said, then they threaten life. But what is not knowing, and by now it's already complicated, is that the same cult raises these radicals so to create this division, so to tear Europe apart. Why? Because otherwise we will tend to jurisdeming, we will turn to misbruik, okay, ritual misbruik of children, okay, abuse of children, satanic abuse. So better to tear Europe from within than to and be endless war. So one time is against Jews, one time against Islam, one time against Christians, one time even against the cult, but they don't tend to the practices. Was Sedna in Gemini? She talks about this. Julian Assange exposed the framework, the structure, Saturn is ruling this Pluto, that enabled the surveillance, the control. Another thing to pay attention to is the great, beautiful, amazing, inspiring project of Peter Adefries Foundation, of Case Not Closed, where they encourage the families of people who were murdered to call the police, to bring it back, and they give a place for people to say, hey, that person was murdered. It's not a cold case. It's not a closed case. What happened? And sometimes you see suddenly medical records not exposed. Why? Maybe the person was victim of medical warfare. We don't know. Street cameras in 2002, not helping to show who is Martin. Who is Martin? Maybe who is Martin? Was assassinating a person, a Dutch person, going out of the home, murdered in the street. Who is Martin? That person that shot him, or who is that Martin? Who is that murderer? Who is Martin? Street cameras don't show, but they market you that every camera will help to solve crime. Well, who is Martin? If it helps to solve crime, could be. If not, what? Take the cameras out, they're not helping. Or tell us who is Martin? Who sent Martin? Maybe who sent Martin? Documents of a young girl called Cassandra, missing. Was her bloodline important? She did not throw herself into the river. We will not find her credit card, her phone, these things, of course, we will not find. Why? Because they steal identity. So it was used for identity. Called Cassandra. What is Cassandra? It's the "we told you so." Even the name. Were some of these people targeted? Were they targeted individuals? When you expose the surveillance that was happening all over the world, including Europe, the so honoring of privacy of all the pedophiles, then you understand that the United States has the phone of Martin, the image of Martin, the surveillance of Martin, and we don't know who is Martin. Because the United States surveils in Europe too. So who is Martin? Julian Assange exposed Vault 7. Structure, Saturn, that's ruling this Pluto in Pisces, medicine. So you think bloodline. Those cults, they practice eugenics. It's degenerated science, the science of degeneration. Yes, but they practice it. So they look for a particular blood type. Medical records not exposed. Why? If the person is dead for the medicine, why would you expose? So they say for schizophrenic, and say two, case not closed. Case not closed. Case not closed. Water expands upon cooling cases, even more interesting today. How were informations of people leaked and surveilled? Julian Assange exposed. So where is the medical records? Maybe US has the medical records. Maybe US has for 2007. Because her structure enables her to. The case not closed. Julian Assange exposed this structure. And to try and use to give 175 plus 175 is 200, 70 plus 70 is, yes, 140. So they want to do 75, 75. That would be 340, and then 25, 25, another 50, 380. $380 for that Neptune. Very interesting. Leak, Neptune leak, Pluto sextile Neptune. 175 years in prison. And to target this aggression towards whom? A person with Pluto on Alkaid during a Pluto return of United States. This is to try and dismantle United States. And for Assange, they don't care. It's just another person escaped the cold. United States is kind of like an offshore business. They print money. It's money laundering. This is a nation. It's money laundering for other things. And it's also number one in human trafficking, as far as we know. And surveillance, yes. But the people, it's not the people. The people, if they cancel the First Amendment, they can and should invoke the Second. That's what John Locke gave us. It's not the American people. The patriots, they should invoke the Second. And indigenous societies. But they also should abolish infanticide, child brides, forced marriage, incest. Then they will get food, as per Sedna. So this Sun, Jupiter, Venus, while the conjunct Sedna, they also trine Jupiter. Sun trine Jupiter is beautiful, shedding light on that which is hidden from a harmonious aspect. Okay, not so much crisisy, but still the conjunction with Sedna. Jupiter, invisible, trine Pluto. So it's difficult to predict what will this Jupiter yield, and he was also conjuncting the Sun. So there's a new eureka, new worldview. But Jupiter is not visible yet. Okay. And then Venus is on Algol. She's applying to trine Pluto. This is a very important when we talk about banking. The role of banking and digital ID, and she's also sextiling Neptune at this point. So, but conjuncting Sedna. Okay, so this role of talking about the taboo topics of science, of science to do with women, of banking and science, of hidden cults, of decentralized secret societies, and decentralized banking, or the masquerade of decentralized banking, the hidden power, how it uses the masquerade of decentralization to regain its control and distribution financially, distribution of value system, values, hidden values coming to the forefront as well. Those things are all done in a way that's more easily facilitated with the trine to Pluto. And it's a retrograde Pluto, so we're dealing, again, we're rethinking things now in the light of, Pluto touching again before it touches one final time on the degree where it is now. And tomorrow is a moon day in London. Jupiter hour will be the case in the Royal Court of London of whether there will be extradition. Okay, while Venus, that's most associated, the planet is most associated with the royal family, is Venus on Algol. But this time on Algol eclipses. So for royal family, I already said it's very important to give reverence to Algol. Again, this is the country that survived the era of revolutions because people like Voltaire could come and be secular, and the freedom of speech was honored in that kingdom, whereas in France it wasn't. But it must, now it's facing Julian Assange. Okay, and there's also infiltration of the sovereignty of one of the most known royal families and kingdom. Obviously very infiltrated, because it's what we did with Assange. Why would they extradite Assange? Why would they keep him in Belmarsh for so long? There's no reason. No reason. So what is the connection between United States and United Kingdom? Was the American Revolution not happening? Re-ask these questions. And so the connection between, political connection with the royal family, Venus in Algol, with Algol eclipsing, is ominous time. All the while, this Venus is trining Pluto. So this is exposed, okay? And it's one of the most ominous planets for the royal family that had continuous Venus Algol significations and Algol significations in various natal charts of the royal family. Oh, and what happened today? They said that Kate Middleton was taken overdose of something and was found unconscious and taken to hospital. And they showed picture of her with 6 toes and flat boobs, if that's interesting to anybody. AI generated, of course. So I looked at the chart. She was not doing self-mord, okay? She was not killing herself. And no, she did not voluntarily take overdose of pills. We understand this. I predicted, unfortunately, that she was assassinated, or maybe attempt to assassinate here. And missing, never heard of, held in a hospital. So again, the same thing, this Venus on Algol, exposed with Venus on Algol a day before, a very ominous day when the the most, if not most important trials of the 20th and 21st century, of modern times. Okay. Even J'accuse was not as ominous as WikiLeaks. So, again, without probing too much into the relevant chart of Julian Assange himself, I think is sensitive day, and I think is good to just remind that this Pluto on Alkaid is very ominous, and is basically found, his PowerPoint is found while he's having a trine to Pluto, trine in transit to his natal Pluto, in a place where he is northeast to where they at. So to point aggression towards him, malefic, unlucky. And if the UK involved in this, with Venus trining Pluto, malefic, unlucky for both the kingdom and United States, and those who run the hidden, those who give the orders to do this by proxy, is very unlucky. Is unlucky to extradicate Assange. It's not only morally unlucky, but also this is pointing the gun to the northeast. It's to the direction where, if you point the gun, if you shoot there, is unlucky. So yes, I want him to live, and I want him to not be extradicated, and I also understand that this is strategically the right thing to do, both for the royal family and for the United States. The right thing to do, because you don't shoot at the northeast, and you definitely don't piss Al Gore off when she is eclipsing. Never, yes, but when she eclipses, yes, you don't do this. And I really, really hope that that the fact that this is Pluto trining to the Pluto that is on Alkaid for Assange, will be giving the tone here, and there would not be extradition, but also to be free and to be shielded. This PowerPoint can allow for shielding because he is located where is unlucky to shoot, and this is PowerPoint, okay? It's where, and it's when you're after your Pluto square, then you've learned a lot about power, and this is very important. This is also his PowerPoint, okay? He is located, his PowerPoint, his Pluto located at where is unlucky to shoot. But it's also important for him to be free. Yes, it's a point where a person deals with a lot of grief of a lot of people, which he did. Exposing war crimes is seen and exposed to so many people, losing so many people. And it's also very PowerPoint of doing the right thing is giving him power. It's true. So this is both my hope that people will not do the stupid thing of pointing at the northwest, my understanding that this is a time where many attempts to do rituals of sacrifice that are cuckoo, okay, that are not really aligning with what's benefic, even for those who do them. It's not, there's way less archaic ways to deal with spirituality and to deal with the planets and planetary affection on us than to do these very archaic things which I addressed. So abolishing incest is way more relevant to appeasing Sedna than pretty much anything. It's the Sedna story. Don't point your gun at the northeast is, an old Chinese proverb. Don't do this. It's like it's not even morality. It's just like, hey, you know that this is an unlucky direction to turn to from the wisdom of nations that did war. And then Chinese nation exists a bit more than America. Don't do this. Learn from them what not to do. Sedna, 9 millennia, Inuit. Okay? If you do anything along the line of betraying children, it's not a good time to do so. And Sedna is in Gemini. It should be very obvious, right? It's practical wisdom. You don't even need to have a ritual and cleansing and the Abramelin and a bornless head and this. You don't really need to have this. It's just like very simple things that you can even avoid doing. That don't shoot at the northeast. Don't betray children. Don't extradicate people for speaking up when Venus is on Algol, trining Pluto with the orb of the Pluto return, and you will be pretty much okay. You will go through this, you will be okay. You will abolish these things, you will be okay. But if you do those things, is very, very bad, and I hope still it's a Pluto that's trining Assange Pluto, so this is where there is possibility here for being set free from this imposing, overpowering. Yes, he's still a Pluto deals with Alkaid. He's still being aware of mourning and so on, but it's also possible. Hopefully, the smart thing will be done first without them having to go through a crisis for not doing the smart thing. And I will end with this.